What's going on, YouTubes? Time for a recap. So, short sentiment for us today under the prior GP. Let's take a peek at it. So, for my crew, we said anything under the GP, we wanted to get a retrace to the golden pocket, which means if you take that high low of yesterday's candle, it gives you this as the Fibonacci golden pocket, right? And for anybody that doesn't know, we just have it auto created on there for us with the 3-bar white indicator we have. And if you draw a high-low Fibonacci, bam, gives you the golden pocket, right? So as we moved into today, I wanted to see a over-under yesterday's lows, right? So if you come into the day and you got yesterday's lows right here, the only pattern I was looking at, or I should say price action, was either holding above yesterday's lows and going up to the GP or coming down. I had short sentiment written all over today, no interest in any longs. I would only short under GPs. But a couple things happen here and a couple little new pieces of information kind of unfolded as breaking everything down. If you take the algorithm right here, which was another no tag, right here, we have that algo driven bar in the pre-market, high-low, came up to the 1618, had a after hours tag of the golden pocket, pre-market, and look where it held. Well, didn't really actually hold anything. Very interestingly, if you were trading today, or excuse me, watching the charts, 8:45 a.m. Central, right here on the 5-minute chart, this had a fake wick. No idea where it came from. Nothing reflected on the options. Nothing reflected on the futures. This wick right here does not exist anywhere. That was a little algo blip down. Magically, it came right into the GP of the prior day's pre-market algorithm, right? And you know how we love to algo fib out our stuff and run that 1618 back to a live tag, which interestingly enough, this was all computer driven. That was an absolutely fake candle. So we were trading short bias today and we had this beautiful rejection. We're coming down. And then this little thing right here, I had a target of 8 points down on ES to come down to the GP and I was going to get out. The orders were set. This candle was created, right? So if you look at it from a standpoint here, it went down about 10 points. I'm sorry, $1, which is 10 points on the ES. So SPY, 1 point, ES, 10. And it came all the way down, but no limit orders filled. This is absolutely fake, did not reflect on the futures. So as we were sitting there, I said, okay, well, I'm out. Don't short anything. That is an algo trap. I don't know what that is or why it was made, but I know it's going to come back up over yesterday's lows. So we got out of those shorts and it ran back up. Now, the one bad thing about that is we didn't necessarily hit yesterday's GP. We have this head and shoulders pattern on the 5-minute, and it broke back down. So I was watching the weakness on the SPY side to trade my QQQ trade. So let's go back over and tell you how exactly we predicted the last pieces of the day trade for my group today. So you see all these big red sentiments. This is part of the breakdown I gave my crew, and I gave us the targets, and I'll show you why and how. So short sentiment, I said anything under the golden pocket of yesterday. So what we do is we fib those high lows out. So here's your high, here's your low, then you got the golden pocket in the gold color right here of the Fibonacci. So again, yesterday's high-low action GP. So once we held, the weekly is always in the teal, same thing, high-low of last week. It pushed up, hit that daily GP, hit a little higher, and then decided to fail. And my crew, and I said, okay, well, once there's a structure break, go ahead and short, which means anything changing trend, right? So we have a low, boom, higher low, boom, consolidation, finally a lower low break right here out of consolidation. So all of this support right here on the 5-minute chart was taken out right at the same time we cracked under the volume weighted average price in the VWAP, which again we struggled with today with a very tight range. You can see the price action here in the morning coming up to the +2 deviation of VWAP, down to the -2, up to the +2, back to center, up to the +2, back to center, up to the +2, back to center. You see the pattern? So it was trapped very tightly in the standard deviation +2 -2 of the volume weighted average price. So we said, well, once it gets under that VWAP, and if you're clear under 38.20, go ahead and start. But the real trade starts with speed under the 50. And that's where these big sentiments are all the way down to the GP, right? So it finally broke the algo. So we were correct coming all the way down to the GP. But where's that GP coming from, right? How did we know she was coming down to there for that final short? Well, last week, we had a no GP tag, right? So if I go to a new chart, in 6/13, Friday the 13th, there we go. So interestingly enough, we're getting a couple of shies here, and we've seen this for the last couple of weeks. It's not the best. Shying, trying to get this thing over here. Shying is usually when, not usually, always when we get close to a price level, but don't actually hit it. So if we fibbed out Friday's candle, over under becomes the 100. If we're above that, you look for a trend up to the 1618. If we're below that, you look for a retrace to the golden pocket, because Friday's golden pocket from the Fibonacci high low of that candle right here was never tagged on Monday, but tagged today and Tuesday. So that's the thesis of the magnet coming down. Let's take a look at that on the intraday chart, right? So we come in, here's Monday, and this was all because of the weekly support. We went over that in our last video. If you want to check it out, I'll put the link in the description. The weekly Fibonacci support hit right here, and it ran up. Well, the over-under was Friday's highs, right? You can see it. Hold support, gone with the wind. Shied the 1618, didn't actually hit it. So today, you guessed it, Fibonacci rules. If we break back up and we hold the 100, we could chase down to the 1618. No problem, because that was the initial target if you're above Friday highs. But if you break back down, which just happens to be the structure break we just covered, right? Breaking back inside Friday, you have a really good chance at magneting right to the golden pocket. So that's where all of those came up for today, because we had this sentiment, right? And I said anything under yesterday's GP leads to Friday's GP, okay? Monday GP fail, catch it down at Friday's GP. That was the whole thesis of the trade. And we have a couple notes here. Trend over 533, I'd stop short. So your pre-market high right here at 533 bucks, light blue line, that was my short tolerant zone. So we pushed up into that, shorted this, pushed up into that, rejection, pushed up into that, rejection. That's why the note right here from my crew says trend over 533, stop short. That means we had a really good price level picked, and we picked that in pre-market. We break down stuff back here, not when we see it out here. We look for our level tests. You hear me say this all the time on my channel. Don't touch anything till the first tag or a tag happens. So it comes in to the 533 rejection, comes all the way down, in T1 short magnet if under 531.24. So anything under that 50, we have the sentiments for the first trade right here, and the sentiment for the second trade here, as long as it stays under. And if you look real close, let's talk about the extra confirmation we had seen here. So here's the first trade, the break of the weekly level. Remember, short sentiment starts, short sentiment ends, and then again, the bigger one, short start, short end. And the note says target 1. So once it breaks under 531.24, as you see here, the weekly Fibonacci, we broke it, back tested, held that 666 moving average, yesterday's low, popped up, confirmed weakness at a lower high, right? Snap right to the GP. So all we had to do is stay under that for both moves. Move number 1, target hit, popped, gave you move number 2 right to the same entry, bam. So those were the 2 plays that we picked. Last but not least, I'll cover the volatility index real quick, because we had some really good plays here as well. So I came over to the volatility index and I said, all right, well, there's a gap open from yesterday's action and it double gapped. What does that mean? Well, here's the gap open on the 5-minute chart on the VIX. It left this gap. And if you notice overnight where it opened again, way up here, well, that gap is still open, right? So I put a price level on it, 1956. And we said, well, as long as the VIX holds 1956, and for my crew, I said, boys and girls, over the 100 EMA and $20 go short. That is your trigger point. That is what we called for my chat when it was right here. Let's see what happened. Came down, hit support called, higher low, higher high, structure's broken, higher low, holds perfectly, right? Left a gap, but it's still there. 100 EMA back test. So crazy announcement, crazy news, whatever the crack was there, structure break on the markets. Cracks up, creates another higher high, holds above the 100 EMA, and most importantly, as we discussed in my group, $20, which was right here where it pretty much consolidated all day. And then after hitting that support, broke out and moved higher. So we called all of that before it happened, and everybody was supposed to look for those big 3 triggers with confirmation breaking down. All the targets were discussed prior at 10 a.m. We gave that out right here and said anything under 533, we'll see you at the GP. And $40 per one on the QQQ. So if you took her under that 38, you had 4.5. So that is 40, we'll call it, yeah, 8 and 8, 16. That's a lot of points. 160, 70, 80. So just under 200 points on the NQ to the downside. That's it. Tune in next time if you want to see some breakdowns. You want to join us for the live every single morning. Links in the description. If you want to win some cold hard cash on the weekend, I'll be giving out cold hard cash for absolutely no reason. Just support the channel. All you got to do is subscribe, drop a like on the video, and comment. That random comment I will generate a pick from online, and I'll send you PayPal or Venmo. That's it. Simple as that. See you guys on the next.